One community building show in the world. Every Wednesday, 6 to 8 p.m. CST, live on Facebook and YouTube. Join us as we discuss pertinent issues that relate to you and I with your host, Alinko.
Hello, everyone. We are so excited to be coming your way this beautiful Sunday. It is September 5th, 2021, 4 minutes after 4 p.m. We always try to be on time. Regularly, I mean on good days, but today we couldn't pardon us that we're starting this 4 minutes after our start time, and so we hope that you would endure with us. Today is going to be a very exciting, informative, inspiring this conversation on the show, and so we're encouraging you to, as usual, share the page on Facebook and on YouTube. We are also live on Instagram. We have in our midst five. Let me make sure I'm counting of five beautiful ladies who are going to be telling us about their work in the area of fine arts and how they got inspired to this place. We're going to be also talking about SORAYA and her organization and a whole lot more. Again, we encourage you to share the feed right now as we take this short break. When we come back, we will be introducing our guest and properly and diving into the show this afternoon. Again, afternoon for Chicagoans, evening for folks who are in Africa. And again, you're welcome to the Progressive Mind Show. We shall be right back. Here, we're going to be talking to our guests in a little bit. Pardon us, we having a little bit of technical glitch as some of our guests, I'll say most of our guests are on the continent of Africa, and so we're trying to make sure that we're able to keep everyone's feed running smoothly. But as you know, with technology these days, it's very unpredictable. So again, hello everyone. We are very excited to be having you here. This is the Progressive Mind Show. I'm your host, Sena, aka Alinko, and we'll be discussing and hosting this show this afternoon. And as we said earlier, it's going to be very interesting. Today's topic is the role of women in the world of arts, and our panel are here. We're going to be talking to them. I must say before we continue this show that this is a collaboration between the Progressive Minds, and Color Me Africa Fine Arts. We are very excited that we can bring this to you, and this is our first women art exhibition. This is our first collaboration on women art exhibition ever. We are very excited about this project and what we can do in the future. We are African decent immigrants in the city of Chicago. And I'm specifically from Ghana. SORAYA is originally from South Africa, of course, resides here. Color Me Africa Fine, she is the director of Color Me Africa Fine Arts. Like I said, we are excited that together we can discuss these issues and more that are affecting our communities in Africa and in the diaspora. So I am very excited that the Progressive Minds show is working with Color Me Africa Fine Arts to be bringing you this show and similar shows and projects that you'll be seeing in the city of Chicago and elsewhere. Now, let me go ahead and announce our beautiful guests who are waiting patiently to discuss this afternoon's topic. And as you may have seen on social media, it is the Good Work exhibition third, right? Why it's third? They will be telling us um, in a little while. This is the women's art in the world of in the women's work in the arts in the world of arts. The women's work in the world of arts, very very essential. We have this following on the show this evening, SORAYA Shepherd, who is the director of Color Me Fine Arts. Color Me Africa Fine Arts. Color Me Africa Fine Arts. It's very simple. You color me Africa Fine Arts. ABENA MOTABOLI. She resides in Chicago, originally from Ghana. Hopefully, we can get her on the show. PRIMILA Singh is in India. She's also on the show this afternoon to help with the conversation. PRIMROSE CHARMZ is all the way in South Africa. LULADEY TESHOME is Ethiopian but resides in Rwanda, and AYSHA WAJA also resides in South Africa. Ladies, you are welcome to this afternoon show. And let me start with SORAYA. I think we have SINGH. PRIMILA dropped out. Can you hear us, PRIMILA?
Yes, I can.
Awesome, awesome. Let's begin with, first of all, PRIMROSE, AYSHA, Pamela, SORAYA. You are warmly welcome to this afternoon's episode.
Thank you so much for
Thank you.
the opportunity.
Yes, absolutely. We are very excited to be hosting this. And I myself is trying to wrap my head around, even though SORAYA and I have been working on this project and talking about it, I'm trying to wrap my head around what the Good Work exhibition. Why third? Is it the third time you're doing it? So please, SORAYA, give us a little breakdown of what this is about, and then we can get into the meat of things today.
So yes, thank you so much again, Alinko, for doing this, for hosting us, and for creating this incredible platform for Africans to share the work that they're doing on the continent. The Good Work exhibition was birthed earlier this year, where we were able to really have conversations with artists and finding out what it's like for them right now during this COVID experience, and how they see the world and how they see the world shaping as a result of it, and what the future could hold for artists moving forward. So we started with our original artist from Nigeria, Ebenezer Kenola, and we had an artist from the Cameroon based in the UK. And it was a huge success in that it was our first, and it was virtual, and it came with all of the challenges because everybody was pivoting into the virtual reality. The second show was focusing on artists from and the artist from the Cameroon is Bang Puka. This guy is an incredible artist. His work is on our website, and we'll share that link later. All of the works are still up, as well as the exhibition that followed was focusing on artists whose medium is in the artists who use watercolor as a medium of expression. And we actually found an incredibly talented artist in Ghana Jonathan, who is just doing phenomenally in his field, I mean, in his medium in Asia. And we wanted to highlight, the fact that there are very few artists of color, African artists who use this medium. We also had artists from Johannesburg who, again, this is a medium not many Black artists follow, and we wanted to have them share their stories. And then we, why not women? My goodness, I'm surprised I haven't had a show with women in a long time. The last show we had were 14 women we brought from South Africa to the Harlem Fine Art Show, and that was just before COVID hit us so hard. And I'll have Aisha tell you more about. She was the one who coined the phrase "the good work," so I think she would be the one to actually take us a lot deeper into the conversation. Thank you, Aisha.
Thank you so much, Soraya, for sharing. Aisha, seeing she's relayed the baton to you, yes, go ahead and tell us why you named it the Good Work exhibition.
Hi, Linko. Thank you for having me on. Yeah, so the title really comes from a poem by Esa Daly Ward. I'm very much inspired by her poetry, and in curating exhibitions, I always kind of start with a poem purely because it just helps me kind of process where I am at and how I kind of see the world around me and what I'm going through. So it really is kind of understanding, what is deemed to be good in a way, and how kind of goodness comes through art. Because I mean, I find art and working with artists a very kind of healing experience for myself. So there's always some kind of healing to it, and I really want to kind of bring that across to people in curating exhibitions, but then also in working with artists with projects. And I know that for many artists, making the work that they do is also a healing experience, and it can bring healing to people who engage with it.
No, thank you for sharing. How long have you been in the world of arts in general?
So it's it's been almost 10 years, actually.
10 years, okay.
Almost, yeah, more or less.
Brilliant. Wow. Would like to get to know your inspiration, why you got into art in the first place. But let's hear from Primrose in South Africa. How did you get to start working with Color Me Africa Fine Arts?
So I basically got involved with Color Me Africa Fine Arts through AYSHA. I was speaking with AYSHA on a different art-related event, and I basically ended up sharing my work with her. And she basically, it was actually through AYSHA. She looked at my work and she said, "Actually, I think your work would be quite suitable for something that I'm working on." And she basically put me in touch with SORAYA. And after SORAYA got in touch, I shared my art with her, and the rest is history.
Wow. And how long have you been in the world of arts yourself?
So I'm a newbie. I am literally, this is my with Color Me Africa Fine Arts, this is my debut into the art world internationally.
That's international. That's beautiful. But locally, you've been, working with arts here and there. Is that correct?
So I actually started my first art pieces in 2020. This was actually during lockdown, when there really was quite a lot going on in terms of everything was closed down. And I thought, even though there was a lot of unfortunately negative stuff that did arise because of the lockdown, it was also during that period that I used it to kind of do self-reflection, and to just kind of figure out who I was as an artist. I'd been struggling to find my voice as an artist for quite a few years. And so I used, the lockdown was the perfect opportunity for me to really just dig deep and to kind of just figure out what I wanted to do with my art and how I wanted to go forward. So I created my first 5 artworks in 2020, but I didn't show them to the world, so to speak. I just made them for myself, and I did approach clients privately to show them my portfolio, but I wasn't showing it, on social media. I kept it very quiet. And then 2021, which is this year, I then created more artworks. And after I'd created another 5 artworks, I started to feel confident about wanting to get my art into the public. And so I basically started to use this year to look for opportunities to basically find platforms both within South Africa and internationally where I could start to share my work.
Thank you so much. And PRIMILA, if I got the name wrong, please correct me, okay? It's PRIMILA, is that correct?
Correct.
Excellent. And you reside in India. A little bit about your story into the world of arts and how you got connected with SORAYA and her organization, Color Me Africa Fine Arts.
I was introduced to SORAYA through a mutual friend of mine in South Africa, and after that I've had a wonderful relationship with SORAYA. We speak almost once a week, or at least we try to speak once a week. And she has really educated me to carry on with my African art pieces and keep sending them to her through courier. I travel back and forth to South Africa now, but I was based in South Africa for over 20 years.
That is beautiful. And how long have you been drawing, being in the arts world?
For I think lifelong. So, I've been sketching and painting since I was a child.
Wow.
And it's been a long journey for me. And I'm a self-taught artist, never attended any art school. And I've just enjoyed creating something or the other.
Okay.
That's my.
And if I, no, beautiful. Thanks for sharing. And I'm curious, you guys being in that world, if you say arts, we hear art all the time. And when you say arts, SORAYA, can you give us a breakdown of, because we know it's broad. And so what is arts and then what is fine arts, right?
So I'm going to have AYSHA share that with you.
Okay. AYSHA, go ahead.
It is sometimes slightly complicated to define. Arts covers a broad spectrum from music to theater to performance, film, even TV, and fine art would be considered to be painting, photography, I would say sculpture, also performance art, because it's kind of fine in visual art in a contemporary sense. It also is now more interdisciplinary, from new media art, which is like video and VR related works, but then also works, things that include performance and installation based work. So it's a whole kind of scope of things. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for attempting to give us a response to a complicated question, and we appreciate it. And so, SORAYA, now, yes. When is this exhibition coming on? I mean, you gave me the date, but our audience would, of course, people would like to know exactly when it's coming on. We'll come back to the We'll come back to the back end of things, but what date is this event coming on?
So the actual exhibition, and where you will get to view all the incredible work that these artists have labored over for the past weeks. You will have an opportunity to be the first to see, purchase, enjoy, and to hear even get a deeper level from them on their processes, they're real, the stories. They have amazing stories for them, and it will be at 3:00 on September 18th.
Okay. Do you think that arts, from your own observation and experience, how is African arts performing in Chicago or in the diaspora in general?
You know, there is such a demand right now for art from Africa.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, I'm blown away by just the success rate, especially as I see how artists have been performing out of South Africa, out of Nigeria, out of Ghana, and beyond. There is a real demand, and the opportunities for the artists have just exploded. And there's an opportunity for the collector. There are more collectors looking for art from Africa than I ever recall. And this is the time for artists from the continent to really shine. And we wanted to be able to bridge that, you know, be that bridge for them here, so that when they Color Me Africa is right now is a nonprofit organization. Mm-hmm. Right. We were inspired. I was inspired to start this organization from my discovery of how artists were treated during the apartheid era. And I mean artists of color. They weren't given access to galleries. Many times the work made it into the gallery, but they weren't allowed because of the racist policies of that period. Many times the work left the continent. Artists never... with the artists never being known for the wonderful work they created. And a lot of their work was stifled under the censorship of the apartheid regime. So, you know, post-apartheid, a lot of the mentality still existed within the galleries. And we wanted to create something new and have women of color be in that space. That is not a common conversation for us, to be in that space and to have a platform. And thankfully, now because of our democracy and the fact that we have a say and we can say it, we are now doing something about that.
Thank you for sharing again, SORAYA. Much appreciated. And if you, there are some, we are assuming that if you say arts, you mean fine arts.
We mean fine art. We mean art created by our communities.
Yeah, because just like AYSHA said, you know, when you use the word arts, artist, you know, it can mean different things, right? But fine art is specifically for drawing, sketching, and all of that.
Right.
Okay. And there's painting, right? Painting, sketching.
Painting, sculpting, sketching.
Okay. Primrose, do you do any of the all the three, all the above when it comes to fine arts, or your specialty is one of them? And which is that?
So just in general, I do know how to draw and paint, but my specialty, and even what I'm collaborating with Color Me Africa Fine Arts about, that's digital art, where I'm creating all my works on computer and then I get them printed on special paper.
Okay, digital ads. Okay, that must be a modern, you know, thing, right? That's a new one. Arts used to be what you would literally use your hand, you know. So this must be new.
To be honest, it's actually one of the reasons why I have struggled for so long to really classify myself as an artist, so to speak, because generally, as you're mentioning, within the fine arts industry, it is art which you're creating with your hands, and where, you know, even with the artworks being created in a space and people can literally see the whole like process of the work being created. And so because I haven't been creating art like that, I also struggle to really define myself as an artist for a very long time, or rather at least in regards to in the professional world. And I hesitated to actually even approach galleries or call myself an artist, because I was like, you know, I'm doing work digitally, you know, and, you know, it's even the way that I create my work, it's not something where I just create it in one go. I create drafts and then I leave it for a few weeks and I come back and I edit. So even my whole process of creating the works isn't the same as an artist would perhaps experience. So yeah, I definitely agree with you that digital art, it is art, but it definitely is its own genre within the art world, and it is quite new.
No, thank you so much for sharing, because when you spoke previously, you mentioned the struggle eternally, what you wanted to do, and whether to even come out boldly with your craft. And so I appreciate you giving us this background. Thank you. And Premila, Soraya knows that I struggle with names, so please, please,
But
please,
you're doing fine. It's Pramila.
okay.
Pramila.
Okay,
What I'd
Premila.
like to say about Pramila before we move, Pramila is also an author,
Okay.
and she has done a book on her journey in Zimbabwe. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thanks for throwing that in, because I wanted to find out, per her experience and long service in the art industry, I was going to ask, has she been engaged in some type of teaching environment where she's passing on this knowledge and experience? So thank you for sharing. So you want to speak to that quickly, Premila, and also if you can tell us which specific fine art is your specialty, or if you have all three, I mean all of them, that's fine too. Please go ahead.
Absolutely. I think what we refer to as fine art is visual art, which means painting on any medium, whether it's paper, it's canvas, it's murals. So this is my speciality. So I love to paint on canvas basically, but I have done a number of murals as well, and this is actually my speciality. But even on canvas, one should think that it is a day of doing very specific kind of art, and there are a lot of mediums that I experiment with on canvas. And recently, I've been doing a lot of crayon work on paper. I've been doing a lot of watercolor, something which I had left many years back, and I'm enjoying all that.
Thank you. And I was going to say that the volume from your feed is a little bit lesser than the other guests. I don't know if it's your, if you don't mind adjusting, if you can adjust it on your computer, on your device, that'll be great, so we can,
Sure.
hear you. I think that that will work. And Aisha, if you can also tell us, I mean, you were the curator of this event, and how long have you mentioned how long you've been in the industry, but what is your specialty when it comes to arts, fine arts?
So my specialty is in curating, but then also project management. So I work more on the kind of business and organizational side within within visual arts and within the kind of visual art industry. So I project manage projects for artists and organize workshops, and I've done organized residencies before. So it's a more on the organizational and administration side, but then I've also curated many exhibitions within that.
Thank you. And Soraya mentioned the struggle of people in that industry in South Africa. You live there currently. Do you think
Yes.
okay? Do you think the situation has improved for these folks, especially women? Can you give us an update on that?
So I think there's definitely been an improvement. I mean, there are a lot more galleries now, and there are a lot more kind of Black-owned galleries that are coming up, a lot of younger ones, and a lot of spaces that artists are forming themselves, because the need for representation is so huge. And so what artists do is they form collectives and they form their own spaces, and they find ways to represent and show their works themselves, which is really important. But it's also, like Surya said, that African art right now, especially contemporary African art, is very hot at the moment. I mean, there's a huge demand for it globally, which is really great because it allows galleries to exist, and also for artists to exist and to sustain their careers in some way, because their works are, I don't want to say in demand, but people are supporting them, which is really good.
Mhm.
So it really gives artists the ability to sustain their careers.
Yeah.
So it is really important. Regarding women, I mean, um, it's still quite disproportionate, and I think that's also a global issue.
Okay.
Um, as much as there are a huge amount of women artists, the representation is not where it needs to be, and it's going to take a while for it to get there.
Thank you.
But I mean, there's a huge amount of female artists in South Africa and in Africa, and that do amazing work. But we've just got to keep fighting for that representation.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. We just have to keep fighting for that representation. It's 4:33 p.m. CST in the city of Chicago. You're watching the Progressive Mind Show. My name is Alinko, and we are talking about this beautiful woman's art in the world of arts, their good work in the world of arts. And it is about the Good Work Exhibition third coming up. The dates Soraya mentioned, the third September 13th, right? And it's going to be
September 18th.
September 18th, and it's going to be virtual. We will share the information after here. You will also give you the platform, social media platforms where you can find more information on this. Please help share the feed so we can promote the good work of this beautiful women in the arts industry, and also share their stories and how as we share their stories, who knows how many people we may touch and how many people may be inspired to probably come out. And if you listen to what Primrose shared earlier, it's sometimes a struggle for some people, uh, and also understanding that when it comes to the African community versus economic opportunities, I don't think that African parenting necessarily allows you to venture into fine art, even if you have the talent. Because one thing we know is that, okay, how much money are you going to be making out of that? And we will talk about that. We will talk about that. So it can be a struggle. Defining even your craft in the space of fine arts can also be a struggle. So as we share these stories, who knows who can be encouraged or who can be inspired. So please help share on Facebook and on YouTube, and like, follow, and subscribe to our pages as well. We also want to announce to you that we are a non-for-profit organization, and we just got our 501c3. So please go ahead and support us. Go to the progressivemindshow.com and support us. Your donations are tax deductible. So please go ahead and give us all the support you need so we can keep doing these community projects week in and week out. So is Color Me Africa, Color Me Africa Fine Arts. Color Me Africa Fine Arts. They are non-for-profit 501c as well. Make sure you are supporting us. We need all the support. We're not for profit and we're not making profit, so we need your donations to keep going. Premila, I wanted to come back to you based off the earlier question that I asked, and that something that Soraya touched on, which is your experience, your book, and how you have passed on all this valuable knowledge. And so, can you share with us the book? I mean, not of course not the whole book, but the reason for the book, and if you have had some teaching experiences where you've passed on this knowledge that you have.
Absolutely, absolutely. I sincerely believe that there is a time we are taking in from this world, and there is a time we have to give back to this world. And we have to share our experiences and our good experiences as well as the bad experiences. So I had spent some time in Zimbabwe, and I was absolutely astounded by what I saw there. And this was a beautiful country on the decline. So I have written this book called A Country Forgotten. And this is actually a love story set with the backdrop of the political decline of Rhodesia. So it covers a span of about 40 years, and what corruption can do to a country and just bring it onto its feet, and other powers from the world take advantage of it. I call it a country forgotten because I was there in 2002 and the whole world was focusing on the Middle East problem at that time, if you recollect. And Zimbabwe, which was having genuine problems for the last, I would say, 2 decades, nobody seemed to be really interested because the country didn't have oil. And the Middle East countries had oil. So the focus of all European and American countries was much more on the Middle East rather than worrying about a country where people were dying. So it affected me very, very deeply, and that's why I wrote this particular book called A Country Forgotten.
Thank you again for sharing. You were giving us very valuable information, and I just hope that during the course of the interview, I mean the show, we would get. I mean, the volume is better now, but hopefully we can get it to the spot we wanted. And so, guys, really want to appreciate what you're sharing so far. I know some of you probably live in the city, and you have the sirens going back and forth, and so audience, please bear with us. If you live in a city, this is what you deal with. It's all, and it's a Sunday. It's a beautiful Sunday, and uh, I'm sure it might be coming from Soraya. She lives in Chicago, and you know, if it's a beautiful Sunday in Chicago, you can expect the sirens going off. People are partying hard, and things are happening. Okay, I'm very excited today because I'm wearing this. Usually, I don't wear these things on my show, but for the subject matter and the inspiration that I'm getting, that and the vision that is on the table, I had to wear this. It's a special day for me, man. We're talking about art. This is all African arts, okay? In Ghana, it's called the smock. The smock, and the people from the northern part and the southern part of Ghana are known for these. It's hand woven, very, very, very expensive. You can't purchase this. I'm the only one that can buy this. I'm kidding, of course.
Alinko, can I just share something? So some have asked me, why did you call the organization Color Me Africa Fine Arts? And there was a moment when I realized, people are, certainly here in North America, when you hear of Africa, you just hear of all the, the suffering and the whatever depressing stories often come out. People don't really get to see and hear what Africa sounds like. And I knew that I wanted to capture the colors, the sights, the sounds, the aromas, all on the continent. And we are African. This is what we look like. AYSHA is African, and Primrose is from Africa. And there you are, we are African. And it's such a beautiful continent with such beauty. And it comes in so many ways. And that's why Color Me Africa, Fine Arts.
Thanks for sharing again, Soraya. And I've seen your passion with this work over the years, and I know that you have the heart of Africa and the diaspora at heart. Now, someone would ask, what is the significance of African art in the first place? Why you mentioned that the demand for African art is on the rise in Chicago in the diaspora. So it seems. AYSHA, you touched on that. First, how significant is African fine art in the first place? AYSHA, I'll have you take this. Since anytime I pose it to Soraya, she directs it to you. I must as well come to you.
She lives on the continent. She reads it. She lives it every day. I'm on this side getting the information.
And it's because I love to mess with you, Soraya. So
thank you.
Go ahead, AYSHA.
I mean, for me, I mean, I'm from the continent. I live on the continent, so it's extremely significant. These are voices that we hear and we see every day, and it needs to be heard. It needs to be shown. I think there's, the continent is massive, and the stories that go across the continent are not always similar, but can be felt in many different ways. And the stories that come across from the continent and from other parts of the world really are really beautiful and need to be told, and are voices that need to be heard. African art is not seen anymore as craft only, or just something that's been stolen that goes and is being stored in a museum. It really is about telling our stories as we experience them, and that is a really important thing.
Thank you for again sharing. And this is going to be a little deeper question, follow-up question to you, SORAYA. What is in African art? Is it that, and I think you mentioned some of them in your earlier submission, but what is in African fine arts? Is it that we, our ancestors and from generation, the art is made just to, like you said, tell the story, or have some impactation on future generation, or just the richness in our art, in our culture and traditions that is that they wanted to depict in the art? What is it in our art, our fine art as Africans?
Thank you. So I can speak as a South African because I've mostly worked with the artists from South Africa, and I had a unique experience with one specific artist who had his work was really beautiful. It really expressed lived community. The women, the colors, the gatherings. And but there was just something about his art that was something was really missing for me. And I asked him one day, why do you paint this style, this medium over and over? And he said to me, the white dealer I work with told me that this is what sells. And so I said to him, because I've been mentoring him, and I said to him, I would like for you to capture the stories of your ancestors. I would like for you to look back, and I'd like for you to draw from your own life, and I'd like you to really come from there the next time you create. And we had long conversations about that, and he took that on, and he started to look for objects, from like found objects. He started working no longer with acrylics or canvas. He started sculpting from things that he would find at the dump site. And this guy has done the most incredible work since, and it's in galleries and sold abroad ever since then. So for me, that it was a real experience to discover that some of the artists, especially the older artists from those who grew up under apartheid, they were still having, the struggle of fully expressing what's really there for them or what they really want to say about their lived experiences. So, and they draw from their heritage more and more. And I'm seeing that more and more in the work from the ones I've worked with in the past. And I see artists expressing what they see happening around them. A lot of the artists I work with also work with children, images of children. That's deeply touching to me because our kids are at risk, on so many levels in South Africa. And for me to see that, it inspires me, and it also sells a lot of their work. People love to see the children.
Okay. Thank you.
A lot of it comes from lived experiences. And also those coming through COVID are seeing more of how they want the future to look. How do they want to inspire the next generation versus creating art with the experience they just went through?
Right. Primrose, you have been, you mentioned that you just joined the industry, but it doesn't mean that you just found this gift. It had always been in you. You walk around seeing things from the eyes of an artist. And so if you were to respond to the question that I asked earlier, what is in African fine art? When you see African fine art, what does it speak to you? What does it mean? What weight and message do you think it carries from the eye of an artist?
Ooh, I think African fine arts, I think it's the way that the artists actually express themselves. I think this goes to what Soraya was saying earlier about there's a way that an artist can express themselves using firstly their stories, because we are from Africa. We do have we've got a story to tell which is African based, and so when a person taps into that and they use the mediums that they have available, I think, for example, like even with using mediums such as acrylics and paints and stuff, that is, even though it's been in Africa since since the beginning, that's something that came from the West. So when people start to tap into using mediums and materials which perhaps are more local, or using textures and sand, and leaning in on all the different inspiration from the environment which is from Africa, I think that actually eventually starts to come through.
Okay,
And the artists, it depends on their story and how they have lived and how they feel comfortable expressing themselves.
thank you so much. Personally, what does it do to you when you see an African art, fine art? Personally, what does it do to you?
What it means to me? Is that what you're asking?
Exactly.
What
Yeah.
it means to me?
Exactly. What do you get? For me, I'm not a fine artist. I'm not an artist by any stretch. But when I see an African art of maybe a sketch of a village or a sketch of, the way we farm, the way we cultivate our food, and the way maybe the family structure, all maybe animals in the farm and all of that. Um, I see a creator, I see life, I get inspired, I get energized, I get entrenched and more and emboldened in my culture, in my tradition, in my heritage, because I'm seeing power and I'm seeing motivation and I'm seeing wisdom, right? So as an artist, what do you get when you see these, not from your own art, but African fine art?
I think what's special about African fine art in general, like when I even look at that, is in this day and age that we're living in, globalization has really had an influence on.
Let me hold on. Do you get inspired when you see African fine art? Like when you see, any art in Africa?
When I okay, my definition of inspiration might be a bit different from yours.
Yes.
Let me rather say what I get from the artworks when I look at them.
Good.
And that for me is authenticity, and it's something which is separate from the West. We are now living in a very a community which has been affected by and influenced by globalization. So you see that the West has pretty much permeated every single area of our lives, and the way that we dress, the way that we speak, the way that we eat. And so when somebody taps into creating an artwork which is just purely celebrating Africa, it's almost like just remembering something authentic, which perhaps has been lost along the way of being influenced by the West.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Pramila, same question.
Yes. Okay. For me, Africa as a continent was awe-inspiring. In India, the art was more or less dedicated to mythological figures. Indian artists have been painting mythological figures for ages, and that's what most of the artists continued painting. And when I reached South Africa in '94, I was completely blown over by the color, the music, the people, the sceneries. So this is what I depicted in my art. And I used to walk around at the flea market at Rosebank in Johannesburg, and all I saw was stick figures, or unnatural kind of figures. no representation of the actual African people. So I essentially paint portraits, and I love painting people. So I started doing a series of different tribal people, different city people, urban people, their expressions, their beautiful features, they are absolutely fabulous looking people. And then whenever I had a chance to travel out into the countryside, the beautiful countryside that I saw came out in my artwork. And interestingly enough, I took some of my portraits to a gallery in Santon. And it sounds a little racial, but I went there, and the lady who was the manager, she told me, she said, your art is beautiful, but nobody will buy paintings of these people and put them up on their walls. I was so taken aback at this. And after that, I don't think I really approached any gallery. After that, I had a massive exhibition which was co-hosted by the Indian Embassy at Hamptons in Rosebank. And I put up 300 paintings of all the people of Africa that I had painted. And I had a wonderful response, direct response. Happiness, and we've enjoyed the artwork.
Thank you. I think we're getting some. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
And because, can I carry on, or is that?
Yes. Yes, please.
So I went to South Africa as a commodity trader, and because of this, I traveled a lot into other African countries.
Okay.
So I went to Namibia, I went to Mozambique, I went to right up to Kenya, the entire sub-Saharan continent. And I was exposed to, because of my mineral and metal trading, I went into the interiors. I had the good luck to go into the interiors and interact with the people there. And what actually impressed me was, the women would be walking around without any blouses, just a little skirt or something. And I found this absolutely fascinating, and I painted a lot of nudes. And what was so natural in Africa, I had been to museums in Europe, and I found the nudes there stilted, unnatural, lying on their bed. And here it was just nature, they were so close to nature. And this is what impacted my work. And I think this is what I've tried to show over the years. It's not 1 year, 2 years, it's almost now over 25 years that I've been painting.
Wow. Thank you. And again, these are very inspiring stories. But I also want to push you a little bit with regards to, you said a lot when it comes to what African fine arts does to you, the nature of the work and all of that. Again, personally, what do you get when you see your work or other people's work when it comes to depicting African history, culture, heritage? Personally, what does it do to you? What does it do to you? I'm sorry.
I have seen Africa as an outsider. I was not born there. I didn't grow up with that culture. But yes, I spent a year in Angola, for example. I was in Luanda. And I was, again, very saddened to see the condition of the people there. And I saw the marketplaces. But what I saw was, of course, it's a very, very expensive country. I don't know how even the poor people can exist there. But I used to go and see the marketplaces, and nobody smiled. Nobody smiled there, And I've done a few paintings of the marketplaces, and I've made faceless figures. I've made people with no faces, because they seem to be having no identity at all. They were just living, scrounging on a day-to-day basis. So all I can say is, yes, what we see does impact, does impinge our minds. And as artists, we have to feel deeply before we can portray it on any medium at all, whether it's sculpture, whether it's painting, whether it's digital art. If we don't feel, we cannot express. That's all I can say.
Thank you. And I really appreciate that. Is there any similarity between African arts and that of Indian? Now, I know per history, we all have one heritage. We all belong to the Black race, in my belief. But if you believe otherwise, give us some education on that. But I just believe that all people, brown people, Black people, belongs to that race. But yeah, so are there any similarities if that you can link for us?
For us, I would say the movement, the color, and we are not so far apart color-wise. You know, we are very similar to Africans, and we have imbibed a lot of African culture into our country, and vice versa. India has given a lot, specifically in East African countries. So I cannot say that there's a very big variation between the two countries. Only in the subject matters there is a variation. India's had a long history of culture and development, I would call it. Africa has a very deep-rooted culture which has not been really exposed to the world. So this is where we differ. And even Indian art, I think beyond a point, we judge our art through the eyes of Western people, which is not fair. I think we should judge art through Eastern eyes, and that would be fairer, because we would see a lot of similarity. You know, we love to paint color, we love to paint people, we love to paint the scenes that we see around us, but Indian art is mainly figure work. The young people are very, very influenced by Western art, and they copy or they ape Western art. But basically, the ancient Indian art is mythological, it's figurative, while African art, I think in its own way, has its own beauty. But the artists were not given enough opportunities to study or to enhance their artistic skills. But also, I would like to point out they've impacted modern art tremendously. In the last century, it was West African figurines that reached Paris. And when they reached Paris, Picasso and many other artists of his time saw elongated figures and out of proportion figurines. And this is what actually impacted their art. So Africa has impacted European art tremendously, which we don't realize and we don't talk about.
Wow. And I'm happy that we are talking about it and you are highlighting some of these things. And we really appreciate the information you're giving us. This is the Progressive Mind Show. It is 5 p.m. CST. We will take a short break. When we come back, the conversation on the Good Work exhibition is going to be continued with those beautiful ladies on the panel. The exhibition, the day of the exhibition is September 18th. It's going to be virtual, and we will shed more light on that. We would also talk to the ladies about their work, some specifics about their work and where they are going after here. Some also, we want to know the pricing of their work, what goes into the pricing of their work, and where we can find their products to purchase if we have the money to do so, because I hear some of them are very, very expensive. You know, artwork is not cheap. But no, I'm kidding. They are not overly priced. But I sometimes I wonder why artwork is so expensive, and I think about it. So maybe you guys will tell us why your products, some of your products, are super, super expensive. But let's take this quick break. When we come back, the show continues. Again, for those of you watching on Facebook and YouTube, we encourage that you keep sharing the feed so we can promote the good work of those beautiful ladies. We shall be right back.
Aglow, aglow, aglow.
There is a cry.
Aglow, aglow, aglow. Aglow Bolingbrook Lighthouse is a network of caring women. We are a dynamic global movement with a single mission to see God's purpose fulfilled on earth as it is in heaven. Our mandate is every nation touched and every heart changed for God. We invite you to our prayer meeting every Saturday and breakfast meeting held every last Saturday of the month from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. via Zoom meeting. For more information, please contact Dickness Rebecca Modi at 630-297-1471 or Reverend George Ofe Ado our advisor at 630-414-9505. We look forward to having a refreshing time with you in the Lord. Thank you and stay blessed.
It's a cry in my heart.
The holidays are here. Wouldn't it be fun to have your children learn something new and exciting that is not taught in school? If yes, Kids Speak is what you and your child need at this time. We are launching an online summer program that would help keep your kid busy and engaged. Here, your child will be able to learn multiple different languages like Yoruba, Igbo, Swahili, French, Mungaka, and Mandarin, to name a few. It has been proven that young children are able to learn new languages faster than adults. Kids Speak also includes many fun programs that help the kids learn and play at the same time. Kids Speak covers a wide variety of programs, whether it be sewing, cooking.
Sorry, we're back. We are back on the show. Soraya, were you guys getting that feedback? Was it breaking?
Barely.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're getting different feedbacks. We apologize. Technology issues. We're still working the back end to make sure things run smoothly. And so these are some of the reasons why we encourage you to donate to our platforms so we can improve on the technologies and our equipment to run things smoothly. Again, the website to donate to is The Progressive Minds Show. The Progressive Minds Show. Or if you type the PMS Show, it would pop up, and that's how you can donate to the show. We are here every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. CST, and on Wednesday from 6 to 8 p.m. CST. We'll go straight to our panel to continue the discussion this afternoon, and we are encouraging everyone to keep sharing the feed on Facebook and from the YouTube page to your friends and your network, so we can promote the work of the Good Work Exhibition 3, which is coming. And our focus is a woman's work in the world of arts. And today, SORAYA is here with us. Primrose CHARMZ is all the way in South Africa. PRIMILA is in India, and AYSHA is also in South Africa. And the other two ladies couldn't make it due to technical issues. We hope that in the near future they can join us. We have a few comments here. Bridget says, happy Sunday. Thank you, Bridget, for joining us. Happy Sunday to you all. Happy to hear. And thank you all for the good things you do for our communities. This is from John Oben. Thank you, John, for chiming in. Rosie says, can you please, I don't know if this is English or
it's a Spanish word, elaborate on art evident in your dressing, etc.
Okay. All right. So, SORAYA, since you got that, can you please respond to it?
Well, I think given the fact that Ghana has such an incredible history with fabrics, Alinco, you're the one wearing such an expensive garment. I think you have more to say about art reflected in fabric and in garments.
Yeah. I wish I could, but my knowledge in art is like this.
And we appreciate you just jumping in on this one and saying, yes, we're going to just have it be organic and flow with a rich conversation, with diversity and ease and grace and beauty. So thank you so much. I appreciate you.
My pleasure.
One of the things I'd like you also to highlight is the world of women, women of color curators in Africa.
Okay.
That is, they are a rare commodity, and I think AYSHA can speak to that. I'd love to hear more.
Okay, so AYSHA, you want to go?
To be honest, I don't think it's such a rare commodity anymore. I mean, there are a lot of women of color curators that are starting to make more waves and are taking up bigger positions in bigger institutions. But it is a work in progress, and it is kind of slow progress. So a lot of them are more on the ground with smaller kind of organizations and doing working in smaller spaces, but there are a lot of women of color curators around the world, actually.
Okay. Thanks for responding to it. And a follow-up question, Aisha, is fine arts a profitable venture to be in?
I think it can be. It's if you want to be an artist, you have to be very committed to it. I think like any kind of career path that you choose, you have to be committed and driven to want to succeed. It's not a very easy industry to be in, and it gets very tough. It is also very heavily reliant on whatever the economic conditions of the country or the globe really are in, because it is affected by people's ability to support and to purchase art. But I think, yeah, if it is an important sector, and if people are considering becoming artists, then they should really pursue it and work hard to get there and be committed to their practice and to their craft and what they want to create.
Yeah, thank you, Primrose. So your craft is basically a contemporary digital drawing type of thing, and you sell them. Um, they're sold on limited edition basis, right? So sometimes in that category, with that category, people might be tempted to term it or look at it as very expensive product, or that your product is specifically designed for the elite. Is that necessarily the case? Is it affordable that everyone can be able to get access to it, or are you only targeting the elite who are interested in fine arts?
So basically, with art, you have art which is affordable for everybody, and then there's art which is super expensive only for the elite. And if you think about it, it's the exact same thing in any industry. Even if you think about going grocery shopping, where you can get a bottle of milk where you're paying an exorbitant price for a special brand, which it's still milk, but then you also can get the milk which is very affordable to the main masses. So even when I was trying to establish which sort of market I was going to be targeting with my artworks, I basically decided, because I wanted to work with art galleries, because I'm new and entering into this market, I felt I needed to have professional support, where I had people who've been in the industry for a long time being able to kind of give me the guidance in terms of how to succeed in this industry, because even as Aisha mentioned, it is quite a challenging industry to be in. And especially for somebody, I didn't go to school to study art, so I especially wanted to work with an art gallery so that I could have that professional support along my journey as an artist. And within the world of art, within the art galleries, the artworks are much more expensive than, say, somebody who is selling art on your own online through an online e-commerce store. So it's just one of those things where it's literally to do with where the art is being sold, and you have to take a lot of things that get taken into consideration. For example, with art galleries, they also have overhead expenses, so you're not just buying the artwork and everybody rides off into the sunset. Suddenly you're also running a business where you've got all your overhead expenses to pay, and then you've also got salaries to pay. And so as all of that stuff gets taken into and they're also registered for tax, so they also need to do that. And so when you actually start adding up all the expenses, it actually then has to be that one starts to price it so that you can also make a living. And that's just with any career, where the last thing you want to do is to put yourself in a situation where you're either just breaking even or you're not making enough money to even sustain yourself financially, because that will actually end up affecting your ability to be creative. Because if you're stressing about money, you're stressing about how you're going to pay your rent, I'm telling you right now, speaking from experience, your creativity pretty much goes into the ground.
Yes. Yes, thank you so much. I think that some of us would need to consult with you as a marketing consultant or director. That is a very good advice. That's a very good business economy advice that you just gave. And did you go to school for business and discover that you had art in you?
No, I have been, the last 3 years, I've been basically trying to launch myself as an entrepreneur. So everything that I'm speaking about, I'm speaking from experience.
And do you have so what's the name of your arts business?
So I am PRIMROSE CHARMZ. That's my art business. So I officially have launched my art career, just doing my digital cultural artworks. But before this, in 2019, I started off my journey in the world of entrepreneurship with textiles. So my original goal had been because I also do pattern design, so my original goal had been to design patterns and print them onto my own textiles, and then to have like a whole textile brand going. And it's through my first business with the textiles that I got to really learn about what business is like, and how even though you can be creative and you can have a lot of great ideas, if you don't have the business side to also kind of help you, then you really are going to struggle. So for me, like the first business with the textiles, even though I learned so much, I basically learned how to, design a product from concept to completion, and I was forced to learn about sales and whatnot. But unfortunately, I just decided that it wasn't going to be the right market for me, just because of the overhead expenses. And this is what I'm talking about, so much overhead. Yeah, I basically learned how to, design a product from concept to completion, and I
don't know where that's coming from. Okay, trust me, it's but this is all technology issues. But yeah, thank goodness that we no longer have that feedback. But excellent, thank you so much for sharing. How many employees do you have?
I'm just a business of one.
Okay.
And so everything that when I need to work with people, I outsource. So I don't have people working with me in my business, but I do work with other businesses.
And you currently have your work in Nando's in Australia, UK, and South Africa.
Yes, so I have been blessed to also, through a competition that I participated in 2018, where I was a top 10 finalist for a pattern design competition with Nando's, that has given me the platform to also sell my pattern designs. And so basically when I have a pattern that's purchased by Nando's, then I'm very blessed to then have it placed in whatever restaurant that they've ordered it for. And if the restaurant is in Australia, then that's where the pattern goes, for example.
That means more money to take care of overhead and to live a comfortable life.
To just live overhead. So that's another thing that with the creative industry, which Aisha also briefly touched on, is with the creative world, business, especially as an emerging creative, because that is what I still am, business is not consistent. And so when you make sales, you can make like a big sale, and then you can go for months without making any sales. And so this is just unfortunately the reality of the creative industry, and especially if you're still upcoming, so the money that you make with that big sale, it's not like, ooh, let's go shopping. You start to use it. That's the money that actually ends up sustaining you over the months when you don't make any money at all. Right. So it's one of those things where you then have to really start looking at your creative, when you sell art, you have to start thinking about it as like a business.
Yeah. No, I'm sure people are taking the cues from what you're saying. And Pramila, so per your background, you have a degree in psychology, had a gold medal in academics. Was this all happened in India, right? Growing up in India, is that correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so obviously your background tells us that you were a smart, intelligent woman. and beautiful as well. So why would you want to choose arts? Based on based on what Primrose shared. Okay, it looks like it's not. You have to be strategic if you're an artist. You sell one product, sometimes you have to wait 6 months, or for a long time. But if you are taking psychology, or you being a brilliant student taking another field, working corporate, you're guaranteed wages or salaries every week and it's consistent. You don't have to wait. Why would you want to choose something like fine arts?
Can I say something?
Say
I
a lot
don't
of
think
things.
we, yes, I don't think we choose art. I think art chooses
We
us.
lost
It
you.
is
We lost you
something
from the
which
beginning. We lost you from the
I
beginning.
said,
Can you start all over?
yeah, I don't think that I chose art. I think art chose me. It just flowed in my veins, It was something I felt that I had to do, I had to create, and I do it on a day-to-day basis. So I feel if I don't paint, my day has gone waste. If I don't sketch, at least make one sketch if I can't do a full painting, I feel my day has gone completely waste. As far as corporate goes, I don't have a corporate job. I ran my own 2 companies in South Africa, and it was a massive struggle. Firstly, to survive in a foreign country and to build up a new business and continue with my art. So, even though I was starting my business at say 8 in the morning, sourcing commodities and trying to make my shipments, I would get up at 4 or 5 in the morning, a practice which I continue till today. And I would paint for 2 hours before starting my day. So it's something which is in you. Art is something which is in you. You can't learn it in schools, you can't pick it up from anybody else. It's just there in you. As far as my academics go, yes, you are right. In India, we are just told to study, study, study when we are young, especially the girls. You can be a doctor but not a nurse. You can be a lawyer but not a clerk.
Yeah.
So our parents push us into that. And especially my father, he was in the army, he was a colonel in the Indian Army, and he thought the Indian Administrative Services would be an excellent outlet for me. And that's what he wanted me to become. He was not strict, he was not harsh. He just had his ambitions laid out for me, and I didn't fit into those ambitions. So I don't say he was disappointed. Um, it's just the way it flowed. And he wouldn't let me enter an art school. So I finished my graduation at Loreto, which was a Roman Catholic convent. I did my schooling, my college from there, and continued to the university and finished my master's in psychology, where I got a gold medal. In fact, I topped 3 universities. And after that, I tried doing my PhD after my marriage, which I could not complete, unfortunately. I got married at a very early age. And then I was a single woman at a sort of a middle age, and then I pushed off to South Africa. So that's the story of my life.
Wow. Why did you choose South Africa? And why did you have to leave India?
It's interesting. A shipment of mine was stuck in Dubai, and the buyer was in South Africa. So I landed up in South Africa, and I just loved the country and decided to start my own business there.
Okay, you
So I
said a
flew
shipment,
my own
a shipment of yours got stuck in Dubai. Is that what you said? If I heard you correctly.
yes, a shipment
Was
of 5 containers, which was destined for South Africa,
by
got
you?
stuck in Dubai. No.
Okay.
The buyer had to pay up the money, So he had paid half the money had not been paid. So I went there to.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to connect it. You said whose money was stuck up?
I was working then in India in a corporate group. I
Okay.
was a director in a company, and when I say ours, that was the time when I was working with this team of international commodity traders, where I learned the art of commodity trading, and we were doing a lot of business with Russia. And we got an order from South Africa. South Africa had just opened up. This is in 93, 94. So we completed the order, but the mode of payment was that they would pay 50% against the shipment in Mumbai and then 50% against the BL of Dubai. The transshipment took place. It's very technical.
Okay.
So I just went to resolve the issue. And loved the country, and then decided to live there and start my own work. And I was connected to the company. That's it.
Gotcha. And wow. So when you got to South Africa, did you start another family there, or it was just mainly work?
No. I lived as a single person, and I had my ups and downs, but I didn't give up, and I lived there for 2 decades, 20 years.
And you said you have 2 companies. And you have two fine arts companies?
No. Commodity trading companies. One for export, one for employment.
Okay.
And then a few years back, I gave it up and moved back to India. And I've been traveling, devoting myself more to art. So I've been traveling a lot to Europe, America. In fact, SORAYA put up a show for me. And I represented, in fact, it's interesting, I represented South Africa at UNESCO in 2015, which I think was the highlight of my artistic career. And I represented them in a show called Space and Light. 2015 was declared the year of Space and Light by UNESCO. And I worked with 12 international artists, and we had a massive display at the main UNESCO hall in Paris. And we had worked for almost 2 months in Lithuania. We were actually sponsored by the Ministry of Arts and Culture Lithuania, as well as UNESCO headquarters in France. And I was awarded an honorary diploma for my art. Out of the 12 international artists, I was the only brown-skinned woman, and only 5 of us got this diploma. So I thought it was very, very interesting for me as a career, and I learned a lot from the other artists as well.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. And Ayesha, I want to find out from you. So you have a mentorship program. What is it about that you love so much? What is it about mentorship that keeps you going?
So I don't have a mentorship program. I've worked on mentorship programs before, and I do sometimes mentor artists as well. For me, it's really seeing the growth of artists and, just helping them build their careers, but seeing how they grow and watching them succeed. It's always a joy. It's I love working with artists and being a part of their creative process and their creative spaces. It's if you ever experience it, if you ever visit an artist in their studio, it's an incredible kind of feeling to be in that space and to be welcomed into that space. And yeah.
And your mentees mostly young kids, girls, or mixed up?
So they're mostly younger artists, although it also depends on the program. So sometimes they're a little bit older than I am, which is a bit weird, but it there's a lot to be learned both ways. But I usually do work with emerging artists.
Emerging, okay.
So younger artists that are just starting out in their careers.
Okay.
So they're either self-taught, or they've gone through an art school at a university or a tertiary art school or art program.
Do you go out looking for them, or they find you?
Sometimes it depends. Also, like, a lot of it has been at previous organizations that I've worked with or worked for, and then there are artists that have also come to me and found me, and there are programs where I've been asked to be a mentor on those programs.
Okay.
Yeah.
How is the South Africa art industry looking? You mentioned it, but where do you think can use a lot more of investment?
I think a lot of the art organizations could use a lot more investment, because they have really amazing programs that work with artists. I mean, from providing studio space to artists and specialized training schools, and also the museum kind of spaces. There's a lot of investment opportunity for that. South Africa has amazing artists, and there are a lot more artists that are growing. It grows each day, and sometimes there just isn't enough support and enough kind of investment. There's only so much that galleries can take on when it comes to artists.
Okay.
A lot of galleries do have kind of big portfolios of artists in a way, and often artists get kind of sidetracked or left off. So I mean, there's so many ways that people can, work and collaborate with artists and art organizations in South Africa.
Excellent. Walk us through this real quick, okay? And you're still watching the Progressive Mind Show. We're live on Facebook and on YouTube, also on Twitter. We're talking about the Good Work Exhibition 3 coming up September 18th. It's virtual. We will tell you, Soraya will give, further details. I'm sure there are a few details here and there she would want to share with you. But in the meantime, share the feed so we can get the word out. We really want to make this art exhibition very successful. Let's promote these beautiful women, and not just these ones on set. What you are doing is you're basically promoting all women who are in the fine art industry. Very, very important. So we need you to be part of this. But AYSHA, I was going to ask you, in your line of work, how would it look like to say help someone like Primrose before she landed her big contract with Nando's? So she's already made. She doesn't need your help right now.
Sorry, I have to just interject there. So basically, I need, yeah. Yeah.
I was just kidding with that. So
I mean, yeah, if I had met Primrose at that time, it really depends on where the artist wants to be in their career, where they see themselves at that moment. So it would start with a conversation, just finding out who they are, what it is that they do, what they like, where they want to be, and then building a strategy to get that, and sort of kind of taking it step by step in a way. And then just really working with them and helping them build it to that point, and then also trying to kind of introduce them to other industry players or spaces that can help them along the way. So in this instance, if you look at Primrose, it was connecting her to SORAYA.
Excellent.
As a starting point. So it's also finding those connections for them and taking them to people, or bringing people to them that would also help progress their careers and get them to better opportunities.
That's beautiful. You may have already said this, but please give us a bit more clarification if you already have. What is the name of your company or organization, if you have one?
So I don't have my own organization, but I do work for a company called the Turbine Art Fair. So I manage a local art fair in South Africa.
Okay, great. Do you have access to or connection with investment companies or organization donors who are specifically looking to invest in fine arts or women who are in the industry?
So I mean, I've worked with JP Morgan South Africa on a mentorship program, and that was really it wasn't women focused, but it was focused on emerging South African artists, and a large proportion of them were female. I also was the director of an organization called the Project Space, which was specifically focused on female artists. So yeah, I mean, there's also a lot of programs that now focus specifically on female artists, and those sometimes come with corporate sponsorship and corporate investment.
So in your line of work, can you tell maybe how many people? Don't give us, all the numbers, but we just want to know through your work, some specific individuals or artists that you've been able to connect and, brought up from where they started and help to establish them based off, the work that you do. Maybe 2 or 3. If you can share 1 or 2 that if you're not allowed to pay your work, that's fine. I'm just curious.
It's a hard one to kind of answer. I mean, I've worked with for many years. I worked at an organization called the Bag Factory Artist Studios, which is affiliated to a global network of artist studio spaces and workshops, and is part of the Triangle Trust. And the Triangle Network, actually, which is a global network of artist studios and residency spaces and workshops. And it's through those kind of programs that you meet artists and you work with them. But a lot of the time, the work that I do is more organic and informal. So I don't necessarily think that I can say that I've really pushed someone yet to be, as internationally known as I think. Although it happens a lot faster for younger artists if they get picked up by a bigger gallery.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. SORAYA, can you tell us some of the international museums or galleries that some of the artists you are working with are in now? If that's the case. If not, are you working towards that?
We don't have any that I can identify immediately. I do know, though, the ones we've worked with are doing really well.
Awesome.
They are consistently working and producing. In fact, there will be an opportunity to exhibit the first person I identified as someone I would like to start my career as a nonprofit arts evangelist, for lack of a better word. And it's been, we talked earlier about what it's like to be the artist and the income and all of that. But I tell you, it is definitely a labor of love, and it's definitely passion, and it's definitely commitment that keeps you in this industry. And for me, it's just something that hit me, in 2011, I discovered my passion. I went home to South Africa to find my purpose, and I found it. And it's there's some background noise.
I think I took care of that.
Thank you. Yeah, and so this is truly a labor of love, and I've been going with this for a number of years now, and it's emerged as what it is becoming today. And yeah, we have a long way to go. We are planning on opening up our art gallery in Chicago. It's going to be an art gallery, cafe, South African delights from my mother's kitchen to your table. And I'm very excited about that. So that will give our artists an additional space where they are able to come and have an actual exhibition, live exhibition, and to really interact with our audience in a deeper way.
Thank you. So let's zoom into September 18th. How is the format going to be like? How many people are we expecting? All of that. Would you want? Okay.
Sure. So it's going to be on the same platform we're using currently.
Okay.
We can only pray that the technology works out for the other artists. We are developing the idea as we speak. We covered a number of things here, but we'll probably go deeper on the actual works itself. Okay. That's AYSHA's strength. And we hope to really give you something memorable to, experience about the same time frame, 2 hours.
Okay.
We have to take into consideration that in India, what time is it now, Primila?
It's 4 a.m.
4 a.m. in the morning,
wow.
Right? And the same thing for AYSHA and Primrose. They should be in bed right now. So our show will be a recorded show.
Okay.
That will give them the opportunity to be fresh and happy to be awake at this hour. And then we can engage our audience separately You know, and again, they are welcome to join the actual show again, to be there to interact with the audience. But you know, thankfully, in some ways, COVID has been in a blessing, because it's given us the opportunity to see, to have access to more artists from wherever we find them on the continent, if they can just, if the technology works. And you know, we've had moments where the lights went out, for example, in South Africa with load shedding, you know, or the internet went out in Nigeria, you know. And so this is the challenge they face, and we just dance with the moment. And they pop in, they pop out, and then they pop back in, and we just keep popping each other, you know. And that's it. That's what can I say? As long as they're there, we're in the conversation, we're engaging. It's you know, to me, this is all just fun, ease, play. It's art. Just right here is art. You know, you just kind of just be with the conversation and enjoy it.
Apart from being being enjoying it and talking about art, what are some of the outcomes that you all are looking for at the end of the day from this event?
Well, first and foremost, we want an awareness of Color Me Africa Fine Arts. We want support. We are a nonprofit organization. You can find our website at colormeafricafinearts.com. We are on Facebook, where you can support us. You can also raise funds on behalf of our nonprofit any time of the year. We participate in Giving Tuesday. You can also purchase the work on Facebook shop. We have our store on Facebook. We have our store on Instagram. The work is there. There's always new work being uploaded. The work is gorgeous. And the prices are really quite affordable as original work goes. You know, anybody can have a painting and we work with you. Just give us a call, and we are ready to help you select something for your living room, your dining room, your office, your company space.
While you were sharing that, I just wanted to give us the opportunity to check out PRIMILA's work. I think she was talking about some UNESCO project. Priscilla, is that the UNESCO project you mentioned earlier?
No, this is my second trip to Lithuania.
Okay, brilliant. Let's see if you can hear a little bit about it, and you can tell us. Okay, and you can maybe tell us a story behind it. First of all, I think this is you trying to paint something. We'll let you tell us a story after this.
This is a public park. It's called Jindal Park in a small town, and this video is the opening of our show. This is the second show that was held in Klaipėda in Lithuania. I was invited again. This was to commemorate the 80th year of going into aerospace, or you know, having an airline established in Lithuania. So we had to do artwork on aircrafts, and you know, it was a peculiar subject, but I enjoyed doing it. So I showed 2 paintings. Unfortunately, they are not showing up here. In the background, there are artworks of other artists. But then we were about 8 or 10 artists, and it was a wonderful show.
Wow. So the first painting, which was the one you were on the wall, was what? Can you elaborate a little bit on?
In a public.
Okay,
yes.
And what were you supposed to do with that?
It was just a public park, and it was to encourage children and women to come there and spend time.
Okay, so you voluntarily went there to put some art on that public park building.
Exactly, on the buildings, murals. So I made a mural. In fact, I made 2 large murals. I'll send the completed pictures later on.
Okay, you said you made 2 large. What was the word?
Murals.
Okay, and what was the reason? What was the reason behind doing that? I mean, that particular art. What was the inspiration behind that particular art?
We were invited. I was invited. Let's put it that way. I was invited to do a mural for the public park.
Okay. Okay. Now,
And
okay. So okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Just before that, I had been invited by the Ministry of Art and Culture in Tunisia, and I had done 2 murals there. I had done a mural in a hospital for women who were suffering from depression. So it was a hospital in Tatooine. So I did a large mural there, and then I did a second mural in a public space at a place called El Jem, if you ever travel to Tunisia. So that was again art in public spaces. Art is important to be put out in public spaces where people, even if they can't afford your art, they get to see a beautiful artwork, maybe in a very average area or where there is no art.
I love it. I was just saying that I love it.
Yeah, and I don't get paid for this. I do it just because I enjoy doing it.
Yes, that was what I was going to ask you. How much did you get paid for it? So the mural act, if I get this is my first time ever hearing it. So if I'm stumbling or butchering the word, please forgive me. You said you were invited to come and do an art. Were you invited to come and do that specific mural art, or you decided? Did they say, okay, come and do this art for us? Or you decided to do that particular art?
I was invited in Tunisia. I was invited for a residency program where there were 73 artists from North African countries as well as Middle Eastern countries.
Okay.
So I was in a strongly Islamic culture.
Okay.
And it was I would say my first exposure to a strong Islamic culture, and I was extremely impressed because their dedication to the underprivileged, to deaf and dumb children, to handicapped children, handicapped adults, to bring them into mainstream living. And there is a NGO called UTAIM, UTAIM. If you ever get a chance, do Google it. And they do such dedicated work. It's unbelievable. So I was invited by this group in Tatooine. And we were, when you are invited for a residency, you are expected to donate your artwork. So I decided to do the murals.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And quickly, you are vexed in all the categories, right? Sculpture, painting, all of that.
No.
Okay.
I do not do sculpture. I do visual art. Which includes painting. I paint in oils, acrylic, crayon, watercolors, sketching, just on dimensional this thing. I don't do sculptures. I hope to one day.
You will one day. Where there's a will, there's a way. So just will it. It's already in you, and so I'm sure if you put your mind to it, you'll be able to do extraordinary things, other things that you probably haven't touched on yet. But I want us to finish watching this. Let's see. I want to see if we can hear some of the things you were saying during the speech here, so we can tie it into what you've already shared with us.
I didn't get that. I'm sorry.
It's been an entire week of pleasure, happiness, and we've enjoyed doing the artwork. The topic was a little difficult for us, but we've enjoyed doing it. And I hope you enjoy watching the exhibition. Thank you.
Man buvo didelė garbė būti pakviesta į šitą plenerą, juozo tubino, apie kurį aš vėliau pranešiu, audžiaus gražio. Mes turėjome tikrai puikų laiką, kurias aš mačiau iš Curators.
No, I was just saying that we wanted to finish watching the what do you call it? Let me go ahead and I think so. Yeah, I said I wanted to. Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
Translate what I had said.
Yes. No, I wanted to finish playing it to see if we can get more information that ties into what you've already shared with us. But we got it. And thank you so much for sharing your experience. Primrose, you studied as you studied architecture in school. Is that correct?
Yes, I did my undergraduate degree, so I completed the first 3 years.
Okay, so
of architecture.
And was there a specific focus that you were driving at when you were in architecture school?
No, this architecture, I decided to study architecture because I felt it was a great. It basically covered both the creative world as well as the technical world, so to speak, where I think, if you work in the right firm, you can make a good living as an architect.
Yeah.
And you can build quite a sustainable career.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but the question I was trying to drive at is, in engineering, right? You have chemical engineering, you have biological engineering, you have electrical engineering, right? Those specifics. In architecture, do you have some specifics like that in architecture?
Like specialization.
Okay. And yeah, like a specialized focus in architecture. Do you have anything like that? And were you pursuing any of those? That's what I'm trying to ask.
Okay, so basically, architecture, just to give you a basic overview, is a 7-year. It takes 7 years to get the full degree. So me completing the first 3 years is an undergraduate degree where you're really just getting an introduction to the world of architecture. I think one is still too inexperienced to really be like, okay, this is where I'm going to specialize. So when you complete your first 3 years, you then have to take a compulsory year out where you go and you do work experience in an actual firm to kind of get an idea of what the work in real life is like. And I think only after that, that's when a person then goes and continues to do the postgraduate degree, which is the honors and the masters. That's really when people then start to decide where they want to specialize. So I only did the first 3 years, and then I went into the working industry. And once I started working, I never went back to finish the degree. And but even within that, I found that I was actually being drawn to the sustainable side of architecture. And just to tie that back into my art, what I then realized is because my artworks are basically centered on celebrating, for example, cultural African culture, I found that I was quite fascinated with the vernacular architecture of the cultures that I was doing research on. So that has actually become something that I've become quite interested in, where when I do an artwork, when I create an artwork, the first thing I go and I do research on when I'm looking at a culture is the vernacular architecture. So and when I say vernacular architecture, it's really the architecture that is built within the community, which is not influenced by the West. So, it's like the mud huts or, the buildings that they build traditionally. So that's what I mean when I say vernacular architecture. So so if you want to talk about specialization, even though I'm not practicing within the world of architecture anymore, I have become quite interested in vernacular architecture in general, and I'll continue to look into that.
So if you had stayed in architecture in school, you would have ended up being a vernacular architecture.
Well, if I'd stayed within the world of architecture, I think the best way to say it is I probably would have gone into sustainable design, which is looking at eco-friendly buildings. And because with eco-friendly buildings, that's when architects are looking at using materials which come from the earth or which have the least impact on the environment. Absolutely. And they're building using those sort of materials.
Okay. Do you regret not taking that path? Because that sounds like more money.
I'll be honest with you. Architecture is, even though it was a very eye-opening experience. I really the technical drawings were not for me. You have to, with anything that you do in specialization, you have to really, this is not even just with art, just with anything in life, you have to be really passionate about it. And so even though architecture is an overall great career, if you're not passionate about it, it can be quite a challenging space to work in.
I got you. Wow, wow. Thank you so much. It's 5:53 p.m. Can you imagine? It's almost 2 hours already since we started talking about arts, the experiences, the projects, and it's been eye opening for me. I've been very informed, inspired. I hope you too. We will try and wrap the discussion this evening by getting the final remarks, but I hope that you would keep sharing it and keep pass on what you've learned here. Just keep the conversation going because it's very important that we promote women in art. Very, very crucial. And that is why you have to try to be part of Good Work Exhibition 3 coming up September 18. Very, very important. It's virtual. And so if you want to know how you can log on or be part of it, SORAYA would pass on the info. All the ladies will give their social media platforms so that on that day you can check out anyone's social media, any of them, or look up these platforms that you can watch and be part of this conversation. So that said, PRIMILA, you've traveled around sub-Saharan Africa and have had extensive experience in the world of arts. In closing remarks, and I'll have you all give us your closing remarks. In closing us for today, what would you say has been the lesson that you've learned in this life that us, younger generation, and folks coming can learn from your travel and your work in the world of arts?
I think traveling is extremely important for an artist. Until and unless they have an exposure of many cultures and can draw comparatives in their mind. One is an external journey that they must undergo, and after that, and alongside that, they must have an internal journey, where they can assimilate what they have experienced, and from that emerges comprehensive art. This is what I would say. So my travels into sub-Saharan Africa were absolutely wonderful. As soon as I step onto African continent, I feel I'm in another world. India is a beautiful country. I would invite all artists to come and visit this country because we have a lot to offer, and I think Africa has a lot to offer. So,
Wow, thank you so much. But I also wanted to give you to give us give younger generation an advice. Again, from your survey, from all that you surveyed through arts, teaching, and business, just one line, maybe a few words as an advice to the younger generation on how we should pursue life in general.
I think the most important advice I can give is be true to yourself. Be honest with yourself, be true to yourself, whether it is business, whether it's academics, whether it is arts. And especially an artist has to be really honest. Because if they are not honest, what they are going to imbibe and what they are going to give back to the world will be stilted. So honesty is the most important factor in my life.
I love it. Thank you. And Aisha, your closing remarks today, please.
I mean, if I were to give advice to anyone who is aspiring to be an artist, I would say just keep pushing and keep working on it, be dedicated, and yeah, follow your passion, and yes, be true to yourself, and your voice is important. And also just get to know the industry as much as you can, meet with artists, go to galleries, see what's out there, familiarize yourself what people with what people are doing and what is being made.
And I want you to speak to the event coming up. This is
Oh,
us
sorry.
all, yeah.
Um, Yeah, I think it's going to be a good conversation around, getting to know the artists and their works and really looking at the works and see how that comes together with all of the artists.
Okay. What are you looking forward to on on September 18th? You said all artists to come, but you personally, what are you looking forward to get from that event?
I mean, for me, the most exciting thing is always seeing an exhibition come together. Obviously, having it be online is different because you're not able to see all the works in one space on the walls, which is one of the things that I most enjoy about what I do. Um, but it's going. I'm excited to see the works from the different artists shown together. That's always quite exciting because there's a conversation that happens once you see all the work together, and then kind of getting into that conversation
Excellent.
is
Thank
what
you
I'm
so much.
excited.
Thank you so much, Primrose. And with the same question, Primrose, what are you expecting for the upcoming um, Good Work Exhibition 3 coming up September 18, if you don't mind sharing?
I'm looking forward to actually seeing the other artists' works. I haven't yet had an opportunity to get to see all their work, so I'm really excited to see what sort of work everyone else is creating. And also, yeah, that this exhibition it's been like a labor of love for quite some time now. And I know the Kalani Africa Fine Arts team have been working very hard to get this together. So I'm looking forward to seeing everything come into everything falling into place.
Okay. And your advice to anyone watching, anyone who's daring to be in the fine art industry?
I would recommend people who might be looking to get into the fine arts industry. Okay, I'm going to speak to the generation who still haven't gone to varsity yet. I would recommend actually going and maybe doing an art degree. I say this because when you do an art degree, you're being exposed to all the different mediums of within the world of creativity that you can be exposed to. The undergraduate degree gives one an access to play around with sculpture, with painting, with illustration, and so by being in that sort of environment, you actually get to know what you're good at much faster, and you also have access to mentors in the form of your tutors and your teachers who can actually speak into the work that you're doing and to kind of give you feedback. That's something that I found, even though I managed to do it on my own, it took me like almost 3 years to basically find my voice as an artist. So I was thinking, wow, and it was quite a difficult journey, and I didn't have mentors guiding me in that respect. So I think to make it easier for the younger generation, I would recommend them getting as much help as possible. I also would advise those looking to have careers in arts to also think about it as a business. Even though you are creating art, you do need to eat, and you need to pay your bills, and so you there's a time to create, but then you also need to understand the business of art. And so I would also encourage those looking to get into the art industry to also immerse themselves in understanding marketing and sales, and even learning how to collaborate with people who eat and sleep and breathe this industry, so that they can also get the business side of it. And so I think the greatest deterrent for creative is making art and then not being able to sell it, or you struggle to make a living. And so if you can also have the business side back you up, then that will really make a difference.
Wow, that's powerful. So powerful. Soraya, September 18th, it's going to be virtual. It's going to be display of various works by this fine artists that you're working with across the continent of Africa. Give us your final words on it, and then we can try and bring this one to a beautiful close.
So first, I want to just, before I even do that, I really want to thank the artists for really stepping in. I know it's late, and just their commitment, their passion, and their hard work. I'm truly, truly inspired, and I'm really grateful for that. The exhibition is going to be phenomenal. It's a first for us. It's an opportunity for you to see the work, to hear from the artists, to ask your questions, to purchase something very special and very unique that you can remember where and how you got that piece. That's always lovely about art.
Right.
And yes, if you're an artist somewhere out there in Africa, I'm happy to talk to you. We're always looking for new talent that we can develop and support and help you grow and be a part of this journey. We want your voices heard, and we thank you, Alinco, for creating this platform for voices, and for artists for creating this platform for your creative genius. Without you, the world will just be That's all I say. Without art, the world is just So you make the world beautiful, and thank you for that.
Thank you for honoring me with the cap of an artist. I've never seen myself as an artist, but thank you for adding me to the fine arts fraternity. I am honored. Henceforth, I'll see myself as an artist. Okay, I promise I cannot draw, for the life of me, but I now that I'm coming and getting closer to you all, it's bringing the work of art. It's making me see art in a different, with a different view. I'm getting different perspectives now. Apart, aside just looking at a beautiful drawing, I'm seeing it from different angles now. Primrose talking about the business side of it. AYSHA, your perspective. PRIMILA, your work and your experience, the inspiration you brought to us. SORAYA, your good heart for the community of fine arts, the community of Africans in the diaspora and on the continent in general, and your special passion for South Africa. It's very, very beautiful. This has been the Progressive Mind Show. I must say that it is a beautiful collaboration between the Progressive Minds and Color Me Fine Africa, Color Me Africa Fine Arts. Color Me Africa Fine Arts. I am very appreciative and honored to have gotten this first collaboration underway in the space of arts, specifically fine arts. I am hoping that in the future, we will be doing major projects going forward. We've done little things, little programs here in the city of Chicago, but SORAYA, I am very confident that going forward, we can do massive things with your support and that from the community. I'm very confident that we can bring a lot to our people and our society in general. So again, we really want to appreciate you all for watching this very fine episode, or this very fine collaboration between Progressive Minds and Color Me Africa Fine Arts. To our great guest, SORAYA again, Primrose CHARMZ, PRIMILA SINGH, AYSHA of South Africa. Again, it's just something that I struggle with names. So I know you understand. You've pardoned me. Thank you. We've come to the end of the show. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I know it's very early in the morning. Enjoy, get some rest. We appreciate you coming. And to our audience, we really want to thank you for throwing your support behind them. Let's keep doing that. Let's keep doing that. It's very, very important. Remember, it is September 18th. It's going to be virtual. If you go to Color Me Africa Fine Art website or social media, you will get a link, the information to be able to be part of that conversation. And I'm sure if you go to Primrose CHARMZ website, you should be able to get that information as well. We will also take it, the Progressive Minds, we'll put it on our social media so that you can have it. Once again, to whom much is given, much is required. This has been Alinco, your host with the Progressive Minds. Coming Sunday from 6 to 8 p.m. CST, we'll be hearing from the kids, regarding their views on the pandemic, going back to school, and family. So join us with that special episode. Have a wonderful evening, guys. Good morning, good night. I know the times are different, but guys, ladies, it's been awesome. It's been very awesome. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You're welcome.